Oliver, the title of most hated financial institution in the UK has changed hands in recent months, from Barclays to HSBC. Barclays reported earnings today. Did they give us any reason to love them other than not being HSBC?
In a word, I'd have to say no. Barclays' numbers were broadly in line with what people were expecting, but there were some areas of concern there, and they're familiar areas of concern. The first is all the exceptional charges that Barclays is still taking provisions for foreign exchange problems, for mis-selling payment protection insurance, for mis-selling certain derivatives, all these kind of things that have been around for a long time. They're still around, and you look at the gap between what they call adjusted pre-tax profits, which were just over £5 billion, and statutory pre-tax profits after all these charges, which were less than half of that. So it's still taking a big chunk out of what shareholders should be making out of this bank. The other area of concern is the investment bank, which Barclays is restructuring at the moment, and its latest plan involves cutting back. But some things are falling more than others. So revenues are falling faster than costs, and profits are falling faster than the amount of equity employed in the business.
I don't think that's how it's supposed to work.
No, it's not. And a return on equity of just over 2.5% in the investment bank looks very, very bad against the bank's cost of equity, which is 10.5%.
It's a disastrous gap, but given all that you've just said, I wonder why the bank's valuation, its price to book ratio, has crept up a little bit. It was around 0.6. Over a kind of extended period, it's found its way to 0.8. So something must be going right, at least in the eyes of the market.
Yeah, the shares are up about 15% in the past 6 months, and they've outperformed other big banks in the UK and also the big universal banks in Europe. So it is winning a bit of popularity. It's perhaps enjoying its period out of the limelight, and Anthony Jenkins, the chief executive, can get on with rebuilding things. And there has been some progress overall, costs being cut back. It's got rid of its Spanish business, which was underperforming. The capital ratio looks okay now. It is, the impairment charge is down, as one might expect at this point in an economic cycle. So slowly but surely it is making progress, which perhaps is what people are buying into.
This sounds like nipping and tucking, but you're telling me that a major division of the bank, its return on capital is 8 percentage points lower than its cost of capital. That doesn't seem like an area you want to nip and tuck. That seems like a flamethrower is the tool you need. Now, Jamie Dimon has recently made a spirited defense of the universal banking model at JP Morgan. Can Barclays make a similar defense of its integrated model?
Well, not on the basis of what it delivered in 2014. Even on an adjusted basis, the group return on equity was just over 5%, still half the level of the cost of equity. Now, Barclays will argue that it wasn't a good year for parts of the investment bank and that it's still in the midst of restructuring, and it's targeting 12%. But there's a long, long way to go, and I think it's far from proven that this universal banking model can work.
Thanks, Oliver.